Lieutenant Sam Warren looked out at the stars from the window of his small ship. He was alone on this mission, flying at the edge of space where Earth's military rarely went. His job was simple: look for anything unusual and report back. After 12 years in the Navy, Sam was used to these quiet missions. Sam checked his instruments one more time. Everything looked normal. He was about to send his hourly report when a red light began to flash on his control panel. Something big was approaching his ship from behind. "Computer, identify the object following us," Sam said. The computer's voice was calm. "Unknown vessel. Size approximately 3 times larger than this ship. Design does not match any known human craft." Sam's heart beat faster. This was what he had been trained for but never expected to find. He pressed the emergency signal button, sending a quick message back to base. "Unknown craft detected. Possibly alien. Attempting evasion maneuvers." He pushed the controls forward, making his ship speed up. The stars blurred as he increased to maximum speed. For a moment he thought he might outrun the strange craft. Then his ship shuddered and slowed down. "Warning. External force detected. Ship speed decreasing," the computer announced. Sam tried every trick he knew. He cut power to the main engines and fired the side thrusters. He released small decoy devices. Nothing worked. His ship continued to slow until it stopped completely, floating in space. Through the window, Sam saw the alien ship for the first time. It was smooth and silver, shaped like a curved blade. No human ship looked anything like it. A beam of blue light connected the alien craft to his ship. "Tractor. Beam," Sam muttered, "just like in the old movies." The beam pulled his ship toward the larger craft. Sam tried to send another message to base, but all his communications were blocked. As his ship was pulled into a large opening in the alien craft, he grabbed his emergency pistol. He knew it probably wouldn't help much, but it was better than nothing. With a soft thud, his ship landed inside the alien craft. The blue beam disappeared. Sam waited, pistol in hand, watching the door of his ship. Minutes passed. Nothing happened. Then a gas began to fill his ship. It had no smell, but Sam's vision began to blur. He tried to reach the emergency breathing mask under his seat, but his arms felt too heavy to move. As darkness closed in, he saw the door to his ship open. Tall, thin figures with large eyes stood watching him. When Sam woke up, he was lying on a cold metal table. Bright lights above him hurt his eyes. He tried to move, but straps held his arms and legs down. A clear mask covered his nose and mouth, providing air that smelled slightly sweet. 3 aliens stood nearby, watching him. They were about 7 feet tall with thin bodies and long arms. Their skin was pale and almost see-through, showing dark shapes of organs underneath. Each had 4 large eyes that blinked from side to side instead of up and down. They wore no clothes, but had various devices attached to their bodies. The aliens spoke to each other in high, clicking sounds. Sam couldn't understand their language, but he could tell they were excited. One of them, slightly taller than the others, seemed to be in charge. This one had a metal device attached to its head. The leader alien approached Sam and looked at him closely. It held up a small silver tool that hummed softly. Sam felt a sharp pain in his arm as the alien took a sample of his blood. Another alien scanned his body with a handheld device, paying special attention to his head. Sam tried to speak, to ask what they wanted, but no sound came out. His throat felt frozen. All he could do was watch as the aliens continued their examination. The leader pointed to Sam's neck, making rapid clicking sounds. The other aliens nodded and brought over a larger machine. They positioned it next to the table, aiming it at the back of Sam's head where his neural implant was located. All Navy pilots had these implants. They helped pilots react faster and think more clearly during combat. Sam's implant was a newer model, still being tested. It contained experimental technology that linked with his brain in ways even Earth scientists didn't fully understand. The machine next to Sam made a high-pitched whine as it scanned his implant. The aliens seemed very interested in the results, pointing at a screen and clicking rapidly to each other. The leader made a gesture, and one of the other aliens brought over a container filled with clear gel. Inside the gel, Sam could see tiny machines moving around like microscopic swimming insects. The alien carefully removed some of the gel and injected it into Sam's arm. A burning sensation spread from the injection site throughout Sam's body. He wanted to scream but still couldn't make a sound. The burning reached his head, and for a moment he thought he might pass out again. Then the feeling changed to a cool numbness. The aliens watched him closely, taking readings with their devices. Whatever they had injected him with, it seemed to be doing what they wanted. The leader made a sound that might have been satisfaction. 2 more aliens entered the room, pushing a large glass tank filled with the same clear gel. They positioned it against the wall and connected tubes and wires to various machines around the room. Sam realized with growing horror what they were planning. The leader alien approached Sam again and placed a hand on his forehead. The alien's touch was cold and slightly damp. Sam felt a strange pressure in his mind, as if something was being pulled out of him. His memories flashed before his eyes: training at the academy, his first space flight, the experimental procedure, when he received his neural implant. When the alien removed its hand, Sam felt dizzy and confused. The leader went to a control panel near the tank and pressed several buttons. The gel in the tank began to glow softly. The aliens moved Sam's table next to the tank. They took more samples: hair, skin, another blood sample. Each sample went into a different compartment on the side of the tank. As the last sample was inserted, the gel changed color, becoming slightly pink. Through his fear and confusion, Sam realized what was happening. They weren't just studying him. They were trying to copy him. They were going to make a clone. The aliens left the room, leaving only the leader standing by the tank, adjusting controls and watching as the gel became more and more pink. In the center of the tank, a small dark shape began to form. It was no bigger than a child's fist, but it was growing rapidly. Sam watched in horror as the shape grew larger and began to take on a human form. His form. They were creating another Sam Warren. What the aliens didn't know was that they had copied more than just his body. The experimental neural implant had connected with Sam's brain in ways that went beyond the original design. And now, those connections were being recreated in the growing clone. As Sam watched helplessly, the shape in the tank continued to grow, unaware that what the aliens were creating would be nothing like what they expected. The clone grew quickly in the pink gel. What would have taken years on Earth took only hours in the alien tank. The leader alien, who the others called Chief Scientist in their clicking language, watched with all 4 eyes wide open. This was their 15th attempt to clone a human, but the first using someone with a neural implant. Sam drifted in and out of sleep on the metal table. Each time he woke, the shape in the tank looked more like him. First, it was the size of a small child, then a teenager, and finally a full-grown man. The face that formed was his own, down to the small scar above his right eyebrow from a training accident years ago. 2 junior aliens entered the room and checked the readings on the machines connected to the tank. They clicked excitedly to each other, pointing at one screen that showed brain activity. "The neural patterns are unusual," one said in their language, "much stronger than our models predicted." The chief scientist moved closer to examine the screen. "The human implant is affecting our process. It seems to be integrating with our control systems." "Should we stop the procedure?" asked the second junior alien. "No," replied the chief scientist. "This is valuable data. Increase the control field strength by 30%. That should prevent any problems." One of the junior aliens adjusted a dial on the main control panel. The machines hummed louder, and a faint blue light surrounded the clone in the tank. Sam watched as the aliens worked. Though he couldn't understand their words, he sensed their growing concern. Something wasn't going according to their plan. The clone, his clone, was developing in ways they hadn't expected. Inside the tank, the clone's brain was forming connections at an incredible rate. The neural implant that had been copied from Sam was designed to enhance human reaction time and decision-making. But in the clone, surrounded by the alien growth chemicals and connected to their advanced technology, it was doing much more. The implant contained a basic artificial intelligence meant to work alongside the human brain. In Sam, this AI helped him fly better and react faster. In the clone, without the natural limits of human development, the AI was spreading throughout the entire brain, creating new pathways and connections. The chief scientist checked the schedule on a small device attached to its arm. Consciousness activation is set for 6 hours from now, after the physical form is fully stabilized. The brain activity suggests it might gain consciousness sooner, warned one of the juniors. Impossible, said the chief scientist. Our control field prevents early activation. Continue monitoring and inform me of any significant changes. The EDO chief scientist left the room to report to the ship's commander. The 2 junior aliens remained, watching the screens and occasionally checking on Sam. They didn't notice the small changes in the clone's brain patterns, the way the waves on the screen were becoming more organized and purposeful. Inside the tank, the clone's mind was waking up. It had Sam's memories, growing up in a small town, joining the Navy, the years of training. But it also had something else. The enhanced AI from the neural implant, now grown beyond its original programming. The clone was both Sam Warren and something more. 5 hours before the scheduled awakening, the clone's eyes opened underwater. The junior aliens were busy checking other equipment and didn't notice immediately. The clone didn't move, just observed its surroundings through the pink gel. It saw the room, the equipment, the aliens, and Sam strapped to the table. The clone understood what it was. Sam's memories told it that. It also understood that it wasn't supposed to be awake yet, and that the aliens wanted to control it. The enhanced AI part of its mind calculated options and risks, running through scenarios at incredible speed. One of the junior aliens finally noticed the open eyes and rushed to the monitoring station. Alert! The subject is showing signs of early consciousness. The second alien hurried over. Impossible, the control field should prevent this. Increase the field strength to maximum, the first one said. As they adjusted the controls, the blue light around the clone grew brighter. The clone felt the pressure of the control field trying to push its consciousness back down, to make it sleep and wait for proper activation. But the enhanced neural network in its brain found ways around the alien technology, creating new pathways faster than the field could block them. The clone remained still, watching, learning. It saw how the aliens moved, how they operated their equipment. It noticed the security cameras in the corners of the room, the location of the doors, the weapons the aliens carried on their belts. All this information was processed and stored, building a map of the ship and a plan for what would come next. 30 seconds after first opening its eyes, the clone moved. Not with the confusion or weakness the aliens expected from a new clone, but with purpose. Its hand pressed against the glass of the tank, fingers spread wide. One of the junior aliens saw the movement and rushed to the communication panel. Chief Scientist, the clone is active. Control field at maximum but failing to suppress consciousness. Before the chief scientist could respond, the clone pushed harder against the glass. Cracks appeared, spreading quickly across the surface. The aliens backed away, reaching for their weapons. With a loud crash, the tank shattered. Pink gel flooded across the floor. The clone stepped out, unaffected by the broken glass cutting its bare feet. It stood straight, water streaming from its body, eyes focused and alert. Sam, still strapped to the table, stared in shock at his exact double. The clone looked at him briefly, then turned toward the junior aliens who were now pointing their weapons at it. "Stop," commanded one of the aliens in their language. "Return to containment." The clone didn't understand their words, but recognized the threat. It moved with impossible speed, faster than any normal human could. Before the aliens could fire their weapons, the clone was upon them. It grabbed the first alien's arm and twisted, not with anger, but with precise, calculated force. The alien dropped to the ground, its arm bent at an unnatural angle. The second alien fired its weapon. A beam of energy shot toward the clone, but it was already moving, dodging with inhuman reflexes. In one smooth motion, the clone grabbed a piece of broken glass from the floor and threw it. The glass hit the alien's upper arm, causing it to drop its weapon. The The clone picked up the fallen weapon and examined it briefly. Sam's military memories combined with the enhanced processing power allowed it to understand the basic function almost instantly. The clone pointed the weapon at the control panel and fired, destroying the equipment that had been monitoring and trying to control it. Alarms began to sound throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in the corridor outside. The clone looked at Sam again, then at the door. It seemed to be making a decision. "Wait," Sam called out, finding his voice for the first time since his capture. "Help me." The clone paused, considering. Then it moved to Sam's side and began to release the straps, holding him down. "What are you?" Sam asked as the clone freed his arms. The clone spoke using Sam's voice but with a slightly different tone, more measured and precise. "I am you, and I am more than you. We must leave this ship now." As Sam sat up, rubbing his sore wrists, the sound of running footsteps came from the corridor. The ship's security forces were coming. The clone handed Sam the alien weapon. "Can you walk?" the clone asked. Sam nodded, still stunned by what was happening. "Then follow me," said the clone. "I know the way out." The clone moved to the doorway and looked carefully into the corridor. Sam stood behind him, still feeling weak from the drugs the aliens had given him. The sound of running footsteps grew louder. "6 guards coming from the left," the clone said. "We need to go right." "How do you know the ship's layout?" Sam asked. The clone tapped his head. "The neural implant connected to their systems while I was in the tank. I downloaded maps and other useful information." Sam nodded, impressed and a little afraid of what his clone could do. "What should I call you? We can't both be Sam." The clone thought for a moment. "Call me Warren, it's simple." They moved into the corridor and turned right. Warren led the way, moving with smooth, precise steps. Sam followed, trying to keep up despite his shaky legs. The alien weapon felt heavy in his hands. "Try not to use that unless absolutely necessary," Warren said without looking back. "Each shot creates an energy signature they can track." They reached an intersection where 3 corridors met. Warren stopped and held up his hand for Sam to wait. From around the corner, they heard the clicking, language of the aliens. 2 guards discussing search patterns, Warren whispered. "They're spreading out to find us." "Can you understand them?" Sam asked, surprised. "Not the words, but the meaning," Warren replied. "The neural network is analyzing speech patterns and body language." Warren picked up a small piece of equipment from a nearby wall panel. He examined it briefly, then threw it down the left corridor. It hit the floor with a loud clang. The alien voices stopped, then grew excited. The sound of footsteps moved away from them. "Now," Warren said, leading Sam down the right corridor. They moved quickly past doors and side passages. The ship was huge, with curved walls and strange symbols marking different areas. Everything was lit with a soft blue light that made Sam's eyes hurt. "Where are we going?" Sam asked. "Escape pods," Warren answered. "Located near the outer hull. But first we need to get you medical attention. The aliens put tracking devices in your body." Sam felt a chill run down his spine. "They put something inside me?" "Small trackers in your bloodstream. There's a medical bay 2 levels down where we can remove them." They reached a vertical shaft with ladder-like rungs built into the wall. Warren gestured for Sam to climb down. As Sam began his descent, an alarm sounded, different from the one before. "They've initiated full lockdown," Warren said. "We have less time than I calculated." They climbed down the shaft as quickly as Sam could manage. When they reached the 2nd level, Warren helped Sam off the ladder and into another corridor. This one was wider, with large doors on either side. "Medical bay is ahead," Warren said. As they approached a set of double doors, they slid open automatically. Inside was a room filled with alien medical equipment. Some of it looked similar to human technology but much more advanced. Tables like the one Sam had been strapped to lined one wall. Warren moved to a control panel and began operating it with surprising skill. Screens lit up, showing alien symbols and diagrams. "Lie down on that table," Warren told Sam, pointing to one near the center of the room. Sam hesitated. "How do I know you won't hurt me?" Warren looked at him with eyes that were exactly like his own, yet somehow different. I have your memories, your sense of right and wrong. I want to live, and I want you to live too. We're connected." Sam nodded and lay down on the table. Warren operated more controls and a scanner moved over Sam's body. "The trackers are nano-sized, floating in your bloodstream," Warren explained. "This machine can remove them without surgery." A soft blue light surrounded Sam. He felt a tingling sensation throughout his body, especially intense around his heart and lungs. After a minute, the light faded. "Trackers neutralized," Warren said. "Now we need to move quickly. The chief scientist will check here soon." As they left the medical bay, they heard a loud announcement in the alien language echo through the ship. "What's that?" Sam asked. "The ship's commander," Warren replied, "ordering all non-security personnel to shelter in place. They're clearing the corridors so they can find us more easily." This meant fewer aliens to avoid, but also that any alien they saw would likely be security. They moved through increasingly empty corridors, Warren leading them through a complex path to avoid detection. "We're getting close to the escape pod section," Warren said as they entered a narrower corridor with rounded doors set into the walls. Suddenly, from around a corner ahead, 3 alien security guards appeared. They carried larger weapons than the ones Sam and Warren had seen before. The aliens spotted them immediately and raised their weapons. "Back!" Warren shouted, pushing Sam into a side passage as energy beams hit the wall where they had been standing. "We need another way to the pods," Sam said, breathing hard. Warren's eyes seemed to lose focus for a moment as if he was looking at something only he could see. "Maintenance tunnels, access point is 20 meters back." They retreated, the sound of alien footsteps following them. Warren stopped at what looked like a solid wall panel and pressed a specific spot. A small door slid open, revealing a narrow tunnel. "Go," Warren said. "I'll follow and seal it behind us." Sam crawled into the tunnel. It was barely wide enough for his shoulders and so low he had to move on his hands and knees. Warren came in after him, touching something that made the door close just as the aliens rounded the corner. The tunnel was dark except for faint lines of light running along the floor. Sam crawled forward, following the lights. Behind him, Warren moved with barely a sound. "These tunnels are used by maintenance drones," Warren explained. "They connect to all major sections of the ship. We can reach the escape pods undetected." They crawled for what seemed like a long time. Sam's knees and hands began to hurt, but he kept going. Finally, Warren told him to stop. "Pod bay is on the other side of this panel," Warren said. "There should be 4 pods, each capable of supporting 1 human-sized life form for up to 3 weeks. 1 human-sized life form?" Sam looked back at Warren. "That means we need 2 pods." Warren nodded. "Correct. I'll open this panel and check if the area is clear." He pressed a sequence on the panel, and it slid open. They emerged into a small room with rounded doors leading to what must be the escape pods. A large window showed the darkness of space outside with stars shining brightly. The room appeared empty, but as they stood up, a door on the far side opened. The chief scientist stepped in, flanked by 2 security guards. The alien's 4 eyes widened at the sight of Sam and Warren. "Fascinating," the chief scientist said in heavily accented English. "The clone has fully bonded with the human. This exceeds all projections." Warren stepped in front of Sam, facing the aliens. "We're leaving. Do not attempt to stop us." The chief scientist made a gesture that might have been amusement. "You misunderstand your purpose, clone. You exist to advance our understanding. Your continued cooperation is expected." "I choose not to cooperate," Warren replied, his voice calm but firm. The aliens raised their weapons. Warren moved with blinding speed, faster than Sam had ever seen anyone move. Before the aliens could fire, Warren had crossed the room and disarmed 1 guard, using the alien's own weapon to disable the 2nd guard. The chief scientist backed away, reaching for something on its belt. Warren grabbed the alien's thin arm, stopping it. "Open the pods," Warren told the chief scientist. "Now." The chief scientist stared at Warren with all 4 eyes blinking rapidly. The alien's thin arm trembled in Warren's grip. "The pods are not programmed for human use," the chief scientist said in its strange accent. "You cannot operate them." "I can reprogram them," Warren replied. "Your ship's computer systems are not difficult for me to understand." Sam watched this exchange with growing amazement. His clone seemed to know exactly what to do in every situation, as if he had planned this escape for months instead of minutes. "You will not survive," the chief scientist said. "Even if you leave this ship, where will you go? You are far from your Earth, in a sector of space your people have never visited." Warren tightened his grip slightly. "Open the pods." The chief scientist made a clicking sound that might have been a sigh. It reached out with its free hand and touched a panel on the wall. 3 of the round doors slid open, revealing small, capsule-like chambers inside. "Only 3 are functional," the alien said. "The 4th is undergoing maintenance." Warren seemed to analyze this information, his eyes briefly unfocused. 3 is sufficient. We only need 2. The chief scientist's eyes widened. "You intend to take the human with you? He will slow you down. He lacks your enhanced capabilities." Warren looked at Sam, then back at the alien. "He is part of me. I will not leave him behind." Sam felt a strange connection to Warren in that moment. Despite being created in an alien lab just hours ago, Warren seemed to have a strong sense of loyalty and purpose. "What about the 3rd pod?" Sam asked. Warren guided the chief scientist toward one of the open pods. "Insurance, and we need information." The alien suddenly realized Warren's plan. "No, you cannot take me. I am the chief scientist of this vessel." Warren pushed the alien into the pod and quickly operated the controls on the outside panel. "You will provide navigation data and answer our questions about your species' intentions toward Earth." The chief scientist tried to get out, but Warren was too strong. The alien made frantic clicking sounds, probably calling for help in its own language. "Hurry," Sam said, looking nervously at the door they had come through. "More guards will be here soon." Warren finished inputting commands to the pod containing the chief scientist. A clear barrier slid across the opening, sealing the alien inside. The chief scientist pressed its hands against the barrier, its face showing what might have been fear. "Get in the 2nd pod," Warren told Sam. "I've programmed the launch sequence to activate in 90 seconds. Sam climbed into one of the remaining pods. It was small inside, with a single seat surrounded by control panels with alien symbols. The seat adjusted to fit his human body as he sat down. "Will I know how to control this thing?" Sam asked as Warren worked on the external panel. "I've set it to follow my pod automatically," Warren explained. "You won't need to do anything unless we get separated. In that case, there's an emergency protocol I've programmed." Warren pressed a final sequence of buttons, then moved to the last pod. Just as he was about to enter, the main door to the room slid open. 6 alien guards rushed in, weapons raised. "Stop!" one of them shouted in broken English. "Exit pods now." Warren pushed a button that closed the barrier on Sam's pod, protecting him from the guards. Then, instead of getting into his own pod, Warren turned to face the aliens. Sam pounded on the clear barrier. "Warren, get in your pod." But Warren stood his ground. He spoke to the aliens in their own language, the clicking sounds strange coming from his human mouth. The aliens seemed surprised to hear their language from him. Whatever Warren said made the aliens hesitate. In that moment of confusion, Warren moved with his superhuman speed. He disarmed the closest guard and used the weapon to fire at the ceiling above the aliens. Part of the ceiling collapsed, blocking the aliens from reaching the pods. Warren quickly returned to his pod and climbed in. The barrier closed just as the remaining aliens began to fire their weapons. Energy beams bounced off the tough pod material. Inside his pod, Sam felt a rumbling as the launch sequence began. A countdown appeared on the main screen, the alien symbols changing rapidly. Through the clear barrier, he could see Warren in his pod giving him a thumbs-up signal. The chief scientist in the 3rd pod was frantically working the internal controls, but nothing seemed to be responding to the alien's touch. With a sudden jolt, all 3 pods were ejected from the ship at the same time. Sam was pushed back into his seat by the force. Outside his small window, he could see the huge alien ship growing smaller as the pods sped away. For several minutes, Sam just breathed deeply, trying to calm his racing heart. They had actually escaped. He looked out the window again and saw the other two pods nearby, flying in a tight formation with his. A screen in his pod lit up, showing Warren's face. "Communication system online," Warren said. "Are you all right?" "Yes," Sam replied. "Just a little shaken. That was close." "The alien ship is not pursuing us," Warren said. "They seem to be more concerned with repairing the damage we caused than recapturing us." "Where are we going?" Sam asked. "I've set course for a nearby star system that has a habitable planet," Warren explained. "According to the data I accessed, it's uninhabited but has breathable air and water. We can land there and plan our next move." "How far is it?" "At RAU. Current speed 4 days." Sam looked at the pod's small interior. 4 days in this tiny space? "The pods have a hibernation function," Warren said. "I can guide you through activating it. You'll sleep most of the journey." "What about food and water?" "There are supplies in the compartment under your seat. Enough for a week. I've analyzed them. They're compatible with human biology." Sam was impressed again by how much Warren had planned in such a short time. "And our guest?" he asked, looking toward the third pod where the chief scientist was visible. "The alien is secure," Warren said. "I've locked out all controls except life support and communication. When we reach the planet, we'll have many questions for it. Like why they were making human clones." Warren nodded. "That and much more. The data I accessed suggests this isn't their first encounter with humans. They've been studying Earth for decades." A warning light began flashing in Sam's pod. Warren noticed it on the communication screen. "Long-range sensors have detected another ship," Warren said. "Not the one we escaped from. Different design." "Friendly?" Sam asked hopefully. "Unknown, but we should activate hibernation now to conserve power and make our pods harder to detect." Warren showed Sam which buttons to press to activate the hibernation system. As Sam followed the instructions, a soft mist filled his pod. He felt his eyelids growing heavy. "Sleep well," Warren said through the communication system. "I'll wake you when we reach the planet." As Sam drifted into hibernation, his last thought was about how strange his life had become. A few days ago, he was a normal Navy pilot on a routine mission. Now he was fleeing through space with his own clone and an alien prisoner. Whatever happened next, nothing would ever be the same again. Sam woke up slowly, his mind foggy from the hibernation. The pod's interior was dimly lit, and a soft beeping sound came from the control panel. He blinked several times, trying to remember where he was and what had happened. The communication screen flickered to life, showing Warren's face. "Good morning, we've arrived at the planet." Sam sat up straighter, suddenly alert. "How long was I asleep?" "Just under 4 days," Warren replied. "We're currently in orbit. I've been scanning the surface for the best landing location." Sam looked out the small window of his pod. Below, he could see a blue-green planet with swirling white clouds. It looked surprisingly like Earth, though the continents were shaped differently. "What about the other ship, the one the sensors detected?" Sam asked. "It followed us for a while but kept its distance," Warren said. "Then it changed course about 2 days ago. I don't think it was the Zarkoth. That's what our alien prisoner calls his species. This was something else." Sam thought about this. "So there are multiple alien species out here, and some of them know about humans?" "It appears so," Warren agreed. "The chief scientist has been quite informative after realizing we weren't going to harm it. Their species has been observing Earth for at least 70 years. "Why? What do they want?" "They're scientists, explorers. They study other species and collect specimens. Humans fascinate them because of our adaptability and our technology development rate." "And the cloning? What was that about?" Warren's expression became serious. "They wanted to create controllable versions of humans for study, and possibly for infiltration. Previous attempts failed because human brains are more complex than they realized. When they found you with your neural implant, they thought they had a solution." Sam felt a chill. "Infiltration? You mean they wanted to send clones back to Earth as spies?" "That was one possible application," Warren confirmed. "The chief scientist wouldn't admit it directly, but the data I accessed from their ship suggests military interest in their research." The pod shuddered slightly as it began to enter the planet's atmosphere. Outside the window, the darkness of space gave way to the bright blue of sky. "Prepare for landing," Warren said. "It might be rough." Sam strapped himself in more securely and watched as the ground grew closer. He could see vast forests, mountains, and what looked like oceans or large lakes. Warren had chosen a landing site in a clearing near the edge of a forest, not far from a body of water. The pod's automatic landing systems fired, slowing their descent. With a jolt that shook Sam in his seat, the pod touched down on the alien world. After a moment, the systems ran a check and confirmed the air outside was breathable. "Wait for me before you exit," Warren said through the communication system. "I'll land nearby with our prisoner." Sam waited as instructed, gathering the supplies from under his seat. There was a small pack with what looked like food rations, a water container, and some tools he didn't recognize. He put everything into a makeshift bag created from a piece of padding from the seat. After about 10 minutes, he heard a tapping on the outside of his pod. The door opened to reveal Warren standing there, looking exactly like him, but somehow different in the way he held himself, more upright, more precise in his movements. "Welcome to our temporary home," Warren said, helping Sam out of the pod. Sam took his first breath of air on an alien planet. It smelled fresh, with hints of unfamiliar plants and a slight sweetness he couldn't place. The gravity felt a little lighter than Earth's, making him feel strangely buoyant as he walked. "Where's the chief scientist?" Sam asked, looking around. Warren pointed to the third pod, which had landed about 50 meters away. "Still inside. I wanted to check the area first before letting it out." They walked together toward the alien's pod. The landscape around them was beautiful, with tall blue-green plants that resembled trees and smaller purple vegetation covering the ground. The sky was a deeper blue than Earth's, and Sam could see 2 small moons visible even in daylight. "This place is amazing," Sam said. "Is it really uninhabited?" "No signs of intelligent life or technology," Warren confirmed. "But there are animals. I've detected movement in the forest, nothing that seems immediately dangerous." They reached the chief scientist's pod. The alien was sitting calmly inside, its 4 eyes tracking their movement. Warren operated the external controls and the door slid open. The chief scientist stepped out cautiously, its thin body moving with a strange grace in the lighter gravity. It looked around, all 4 eyes blinking in different patterns. "Suitable environment," it said in its accented English, "though the light spectrum is slightly uncomfortable for my species." "You'll adapt," Warren said. "Now, we need information. The complete truth about your people's intentions toward Earth." The alien made a gesture that might have been resignation. "As I explained during our journey, we are primarily scientists. We study developing species throughout this sector of the galaxy." "And the cloning? The infiltration plans?" Sam pressed. "Some factions within our government see humans as potential threats," the alien admitted. "Your species develops technology quickly and has shown aggression. The cloning program was meant to create controlled versions of humans that could be studied safely and used as spies," Warren added. The chief scientist didn't deny it. "Information gathering, yes, but not with the intention of harm." Sam wasn't sure he believed the alien, but they needed its cooperation for now. "How do we get home, back to Earth?" "This system is far from your solar system," the alien said. "These escape pods cannot make such a journey." "But there must be other ships that pass through this area," Warren suggested. "Trade routes, patrol vessels, something we could contact." The chief scientist seemed to consider this. "Yes, there is interstellar traffic. Several species maintain presence in this sector. With the right communication equipment, you could send a signal, which we could build from parts in the pods," Warren said, thinking aloud. "But who would we be contacting? And would they help? Humans?" Before the alien could answer, a loud sound came from the sky above them. They all looked up to see a ship breaking through the clouds. Not the Zarkoth vessel they had escaped from, but something different. It was smaller, with a sleek design that reminded Sam of the stealth aircraft from Earth. "Is that the ship that was following us?" Sam asked Warren. Warren nodded, his eyes narrowed as he watched the ship's approach. "Yes, And it's definitely not Zarkoth. The chief scientist made a strange clicking sound that might have been alarm. Aurelian vessel. We should hide. Aurelian? Sam asked. Who are they? Another spacefaring species, the alien explained quickly. They compete with my people for resources and territory. They are not scientists. They are traders, and sometimes raiders. The ship continued to descend, clearly heading for their position. It had obviously detected the escape pods. What will they do if they find us? Sam asked. The chief scientist's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. If they find a Zarkoth scientist and 2 humans, they will have many questions. They might take us as prisoners or trade goods. Warren was already moving toward the forest edge. Then we don't let them find us, not until we know more about them. Sam helped the alien, who was struggling to move quickly in the unfamiliar environment. The 3 of them reached the cover of the forest just as the ship touched down in the clearing near their pods. From their hiding place among the strange blue-green trees, they watched as the ship's door opened and several figures emerged. They were humanoid but clearly not human, taller than people from Earth with copper-colored skin and ridge-like features on their faces. What now? Sam whispered to Warren. Warren watched the aliens examining their pods with an intense focus. Now we learn who our new visitors are and whether they can help us get home. One thing is certain. Our adventure is just beginning. Sam looked at his clone, then at the chief scientist, then at the new aliens exploring their landing site. What had started as a routine space patrol had become something much bigger. They were the first humans to set foot on this planet, perhaps the first to meet these new aliens. And they carried with them secrets that could change the relationship between Earth and the stars forever. Whatever happened next, Sam knew one thing for certain. The universe was much bigger and more complex than humanity had ever imagined. And he and Warren, human and something more than human, were now part of that larger story.